Luka Pataky, welcome to Sports Management Podcast.
Hey, Marcus. Welcome, or thank you, and glad to be here. Always exciting to share some great stuff we are doing.
Yeah, it will be a really interesting episode. You are the Senior Vice President of Automated Content at Sportradar. So can you talk a little bit about what that role includes?
Yeah, definitely. So actually, it's just as exciting as it sounds, I would say. And actually, also, we do exactly what the name of the team says. So we are creating content. In general, Sportradar, the bread and butter of everything we do is data collection and data, and what we do with the data. And also, of course, streaming and other sports content, if we can call it all together like this. And what my team focuses on is creation of content, so particularly data, and in some cases also video, sort of broadcast type streaming in automatic fashion, right? So we use a lot of AI, more specifically computer vision, and building some pretty advanced tech that then helps us automatically extract data, but also then uses AI to kind of interpret all of this data, build insight, or actually create more engaging video content as well. So that's kind of at the core of it, and I am leading this team more focused on how actually we create business value, right? So my team is very technical, a lot of techies, sometimes very much more than me, and sometimes even me, difficult to understand. This space moves really, really fast, but I keep the business hat on and translate some of this very interesting tech stuff into a business value for the company.
That's really interesting. And you mentioned computer vision, and that's something that
Yeah.
you work with a lot. So can you explain a little bit the concept and what that is?
Yeah, of course. So computer vision, in essence, is a subfield of artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence obviously covers a lot of different areas. Computer vision is one of those, and it's actually not a new field really. So it existed for quite some time, a couple of decades actually, but it used to be more, let's say, classic and more like kind of manufacturing, big, in this sort of industrial use cases. In essence, what it does, it tries to mimic a combination of human vision and brain systems, right? So it takes visual input, so images, even videos, it's just a collection of images, interprets them based on what it is taught to look for, and then predicts the output. And this can be very simple. I say very simple, but can be more simple or more complex, multi-layered sort of neural networks that take a lot of data and have a lot of kind of hidden layers that then kind of extract features and predict the outcomes, and that helps make decisions. In sport context, that will mean it looks in the image for every object, for where the players are, where the ball is, and actually not just that, it also can interpret certain actions just based on seeing images, like was the shot taken, was it a forehand, a backhand, and that actually proves to be extremely valuable, and the systems are extremely powerful to do a lot at the same time and fast.
So in what type around the game can this be helpful? We are talking about like betting, fan engagement. What aspects of the sports world can this help?
I mean, I feel this is really a game changer for the sport. It can help like from anything from, of course, like real-time data collection that can help create or extract data that is then useful in sports betting, just creating kind of sports betting experiences that are maybe even not possible to be created in any other way, like because the data cannot be collected at that level of granularity manually, for example. So yes, that will be one. One also interesting aspect is what it does to the viewing experience, because a good thing about computer vision is that it analyzes images, and that means it knows where in the image certain things are. So you can imagine you can directly create layers of engagement on top of that image, because you know where the player is, you know who that player is, and you also get that movement because you're tracking it across multiple images, so you can track the player and show the speed of the player and stuff like that. So it creates a new engagement layer, so it's very interesting from that, and all of it can actually be done live in real time, and we do a lot of that as well. And it has an enormous potential in analytics, performance analysis, for coaches, for players. Again, the beauty of it is that it merges directly video and data, right? So you don't need synchronization in essence. I mean, there is some layers of synchronization, but video for coaching is really important, and there you have those two overlay directly, one next to the other. Yeah, it helps in a lot of things like that, particularly in sports. So yeah, anything from engagement, from betting, from performance analysis. It also, just the data that it helps us extract means that we can do better probabilities. We can do, the trading can be more automated and better. And so yeah, there's a lot of benefits on different stakeholders, of course.
Mm. And what sports are you working with, and how are you choosing these sports?
Yeah, so currently our like flagship sport, I would say, is table tennis. Like we've just launched what we call enhanced table tennis, which is basically using this tech and then doing all of these new layers of engagement and products on top of it. But actually, this is just, let's say, the starting point. And actually, we have been already working for quite a while on tennis, and we are bringing this technology in similar fashion to tennis, where we are again trying to introduce engagement layers on streaming, and create this new experience through the use of computer vision. One interesting aspect as well there is, which is quite interesting also for rights holders, is the introduction of virtual advertising, and that is also something that this technology enables, where again, because where things are, you can position ads there, and you can change them programmatically and overlay them on the floor or wherever you want, pretty much. So we are doing this in tennis as well, and we are also looking at the team sports. Like we are doing some interesting stuff for basketball. Also, that's a completely different beast, I would say. And on your point, choosing sports, we generally go for those that have the biggest impact in our industry. So table tennis was a good combination between, let's say, the ease of the application of this technology, because it's a fairly controlled environment and all indoor and two players on each side of the table. So, not a lot of occlusions, and it is a big betting sport, like huge volume. Like we process 200,000 games per year. So it's a lot of games, and actually makes sense to kind of increase the value that we can get out of the sport. But then we follow this logic, like what sport is really key for us. Tennis is one like that, basketball, of course, and then soccer as well, and then how complicated they are. And table tennis is a bit simpler, I would say, but every sport has its own difficulties. Table tennis is maybe simpler for there's no occlusions, but it's extremely fast, right? The ball travels the fastest, and it's a pretty small ball. So we need to use a camera that captures 130 frames per second in order for us to be able to detect when the ball bounces off the table. Otherwise, we would miss the bounce. In basketball, we don't need 130 frames per second because the game is not that fast, but there's a lot more players and they are occluded. And so, there's other challenges that we have there. So every sport at the end is somewhat challenging. But yeah, we are just excited about how we can really enhance it. And table tennis is a good example. And now we are going from there into tennis and other sports.
Yeah, table tennis is really interesting because, as you said, it's such a rapid game. So the computer vision can come up with something that a human wouldn't
Yeah.
have been able to do in that time.
Yeah, exactly. And one interesting thing with table tennis is that it's a really rapid sport, and actually really constant. There's constant kind of action, and yeah, what this data allows us to do is that at the end of the day, when it comes to sports betting, we don't just offer like betting on outcome of a game, right? Which means you still need to wait for the whole game to happen, but we are tracking every bounce, we are tracking every player, we are tracking every rally, and rallies happen like between 20 to 40 seconds, right? So we are able to kind of give a lot more engagement and faster, what we call micro betting, and that kind of gives a whole new engagement, but it requires full automation. There is, from the whole cycle of offering a bet to resolving a bet, you have like 40 seconds. There's no way you can manually trade this, generate data, and do everything. You need like quite advanced AI to do everything, and actually also kind of do it in a right way.
Yeah, so fully automated, you say AI. How are you working with that with like AI versus like assisted AI? I mean, are you working together with AI to make it as good as you possibly can?
I mean, our approach generally is we are using this to enhance what is already there, right? So we are in our like our initial objective is not to try to replace it, because in sports, as everyone knows, it's like there are some things that are just objective and are referee decisions, and it doesn't matter what AI will say. If a referee has decided something else, then it's going to be something else, and that's how it is, right? And there is some data that is objective, and there's nothing we can do about it, and so we that is still sort of usually done together with federations we work with, and through official sources. So we look at AI really at how it can actually assist that layer, right? And even when we talk about trading, or where we talk about like just creating predictions, where we talk about and then generating more data, it's about how it can assist what we are doing, and where sometimes there's human involvement, and we just want to do more and we want to do better. Like as an example, our AI models for data collection can of course collect 100 times more data points than we would do it like if we have, I don't know, like a human collection through an official source. So, and you can imagine how much more insight that presents, and how it can be actually really helpful to traders who then trade these matches. And that's more insight. It means better understanding of the dynamics in the game, of who is favorite, or who has in this particular game maybe an edge, and this actually really helps. So I think, and we even see in other aspects, like definitely AI assisted is something that is quite valuable, and I think in a lot of cases, it's probably more the way to go. There are cases where, of course, AI is helpful to fully automate. And I mean, for some data collection, it just doesn't make sense to go any other way. Like tracking data, you will probably use one of those things, because you don't want to use people to do this. It's just not feasible and not scalable. So it's always going to be a bit of the right fit for purpose, basically, what you go for.
Yeah. So when we talk about the objective data, is it possible to say how accurate computer vision is?
Yeah, I mean, like for example, in table tennis, we also read the score, for example, and that's like you could call this objective. And at the same time, we are analyzing so much data that we can also predict the score automatically. So actually, we had this showcase on one of the conferences last year, where we actually had a game on, and we were showing like the system predicting the score, and then the umpire changing the score on the scoreboard. And first of all, what was really interesting is that it showed that when you have this 100-fold data that you collect, so bounces and player tracking and all the rules that you know about the game, just that already gives you accuracy of score of like about, I think it was 98 and something percent, right? That means that the system was actually without umpire already mostly correct. And with objective, so when the umpire changed the scores, that was completely correct. That is like a optical character recognition model, right? That basically reads the scoreboard, and those are pretty accurate, right? I mean, so they don't make mistakes. But even the one that actually makes the decision without the umpire yet, which is actually what is interesting, it shows you like how powerful these systems can be. And in some cases actually also assisting the referee, right? Like you have in video assistant referee in soccer. But even we had cases in table tennis where the referees were not quite sure, and then they kind of looked back at the system and looked at the situation, and then saw that actually system, for example, saw a bounce off the table, but it was just on the edge, but the umpire actually maybe just lost attention for like 3 seconds and didn't see it, and so the system could help.
Interesting. Talking about like the new generation and fan engagement, it's a different pattern from Gen Z and then for the older generation in how you're watching games and what you're interested in. So how are you at Sportradar and with computer vision leveraging data to attract to a young audience?
Yeah, it's a bit connected to what we've already touched a little bit, and it's definitely the attention span is shrinking. And It's just probably because there is a lot of content available. So the competition of what the new generation looks at or chooses from is a lot fiercer or bigger than it ever was. So you don't have a lot of time to grab the attention. So it just means that like even the viewing experience of a normal game on the TV is different, and you need to grab attention somehow. And these technologies and the data allow us to kind of build this insight that grab attention very quickly. Whether that means that you can produce like a highlight very quickly, and there again we use a lot of computer vision for that, and you just have the right moment but very quickly, right? So you can't wait after the game that someone edits the game and gives the highlight. You want to pull someone in the game basically while it's still live, so you need to produce it really quickly, understand what is the good moment that will pull someone in, right? Like even when you see in the past, like there would be a lot of kind of videos of funny videos of I don't know, a goal from really far or something interesting, but those would come after the game. And yeah, and so how do you create something like that just while the game is still live? And these technologies help you with that, and the data of course helps build insight, like just on the spot why someone maybe is performing like this, or even what will happen. And even with betting, right? So attention span is shorter, so how do you cater to the generation that maybe doesn't want to wait for the whole game to finish, but wants to kind of step in, play for a while and then step out, and also doesn't want to wait for the outcome but wants the outcome right there? So this is actually the area where these kind of technologies are useful, and how we leverage them. And as I said, like building engagement through better viewing experience, which effectively pulls the fan in and keeps them engaged. And then like data, surrounding data that kind of helps build this understanding. I feel like, I don't know, Formula One, for example. I quite like Formula One, and I always thought they were, when it comes to data, they were a bit ahead of time in trying to leverage it. And somehow probably also, like always, the one of the most interesting aspects of Formula One was the pit stop and how fast it is. And if you think it's all about seconds, and kind of that's engaging, and then they built on top of this and built a lot of other things around data, and it became like completely different.
Mm. Yeah. And yeah, because you're a motorsport fan also, right? I read that somewhere.
I like motorsports. I'm like in terms of fan, it's interesting. I like to watch them more as a social event, I guess, but I like motorsports maybe more as participant even rather than watching them. But I like Formula One, and I in the past I watched it more than these days, but I always enjoyed motorsports. Yes.
I see. So yeah, so Formula One is a very commercial sport as well, and we mentioned it a little bit before also about commercial benefits with AI, and that you can do
Yeah.
them also in real time. So that is something that, must be so important and valuable from your end.
Yeah, definitely. Like at the end of the day, we work a lot with federations, and for them, and there we kind of share the same passion, right? They want to engage their fans, they want to have fans more loyal, they want to give them like different levels of engagement. These technologies that we can help, that we provide and work together with them, actually help with exactly that. So how does the fan become more loyal and stays there longer? And even when it comes to advertising, yeah, of course you want to be as targeted, as relevant as possible. And sports are global, and sometimes it's with the panel on the field, it's not so easy. Like you have one and that's it. This technology, and because these days also the processing power is not really an obstacle anymore, it allows you to create multiple streams that can have each like a different add-on, right? And this is possible in several ways. You can have like a hardware in venue, which can sometimes be pretty expensive hardware that then can do that, and you can then kind of use a combination of hardware and software. Or you can go with a more scalable solution that's more just software, right, where computer vision again plays a key role. And also things like highlights and personalized, especially, right? Sometimes many federations go closer to the fan, and they want to provide a more personalized experience. And these technologies again allow for more personal experiences faster. Like I am a fan of this team and I can get my highlights like this, and someone else is a fan of this player, can get highlights like that. It's like when you want to scale, you require these technologies to be able to kind of cater to all these different types of fans. So it's very valuable commercially. It's how you attract and retain fans, and also build commercial opportunities. Said with virtual advertising, all of a sudden you open up like one piece of advertising inventory is now worth a lot more because you can use it and reuse it many times in different areas and different locations.
Mm. Yeah, and we have talked a lot about the business opportunities now that the AI can do, but is there also an opportunity for improving performance? Like, can players watch back and, see how they can improve or something like that?
Yeah, definitely. Most of performance analytics tools use some form of computer vision. Sometimes it's only computer vision, like there will be very sophisticated systems that are put in the venue with multiple cameras, and then it's analyzed and provides data that then gets fed into analytics tools, and the players and coaches use this to improve performance on multiple levels, right? Like from grassroots, like amateur and young, and they watch and have all the videos tagged with data, and then they know how to improve, to professional, right? So yeah, and it will be a combination, sometimes purely computer vision, sometimes combination of wearables and computer vision. It depends like which one for which purpose. And yeah, there's definitely a lot, like tennis, which we worked a little bit longer on, has a lot of this, and really from very low levels like young players to very experienced, where easy to set up kind of camera, and then analysis happens at the back, and you have your videos and you have everything tagged, and you can watch just your forehands or just your backhands and see how to improve. And actually where it's also quite interesting, and the avenues it opens, is like kind of this comparison between players. And some providers would even offer things where if you want to improve your forehand, like that's the path you should follow, and then how do you compare to some professional player, how close you are with your forehand to that forehand and stuff like that. So it almost becomes like a interesting way to improve, but also almost like a game as well at the same
Mm.
time. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunity, and actually computer vision in that market, just performance analytics, it's pretty big, and there's a lot of, in different sports, a lot of companies that offer those services.
Mm. Interesting. I would like to get to know you a little better, see how you got into sports. So I know you're from Slovenia. So what is your journey? How does that look like? Where did you grow up, and how did you get into sports and tech?
Yeah, interesting. So yeah, I am from Slovenia. I grew up in Ljubljana, which is the capital of Slovenia. Yeah, beautiful country, beautiful city. I always like to go back. Actually, I don't live there anymore. Now I live in Austria, in Vienna. I moved there about 11 years ago. So but it's not too far, so I'm still going back quite often. I finished all my education in Slovenia. Actually, by education, I'm a marketer, so I finished a master in business administration with specialization in marketing. But I liked multiple things. I also studied journalism. I also studied business informatics. Like I always like to explore multiple things, kind of have my knowledge a little bit more wider. And I always liked analysis, and I like data. And I mean, I guess why I studied journalism is because there's something a bit investigative in me. So I kind of like this. Yeah, but ultimately I chose marketing for my master degree, and that's what I finished last. And then actually shortly after that, I started my professional career. First was completely outside of sports, fast-moving consumer goods, but it was with data. So already analyzing consumption patterns, make sure we kind of order the right products at the right time, and like analyzing trends. Then moved a bit into brand marketing, still fast moving consumer goods, but not quite like demand, but more how do we grow the product and make sure the right campaigns are in place and so on. And after that moved to Sportradar, where I am now for almost 10 years. Actually in 3 months it's going to be 10 years. And that was the first time for me, like digital services and sports. So I've never been in sports before, and there was nothing specific that I joined this, but it was interesting journey, because very quickly when I joined, I started together with a few colleagues at that time, innovation team within Sportradar, and we were quite small, but Sportradar always was and made sure that we were at the forefront of like the tech development and how we can use the tech to kind of gain new value and bring new value to the partners that we have. So for the last pretty much 7 years or so, I've always been like kind of tech and innovation. And the computer vision journey started in 2019, and we were kind of really small. We just had an idea, 3 people, and we started building this up. And actually, I was at the front of this team from the beginning. Effectively grew this team from 3 to more than 70 people now that work on a lot of different challenges in just probably under 4 years. Yeah, I've been in this ever since. I love it. It's really exciting. I like it because it's really evolving fast. You can't stand still. Like even something that maybe 4 years ago seemed plausible, maybe it's not anymore, or it's even more plausible now, or there's like really no standing still. And that means like the whole team, right? You need the techies need to follow what's happening because it's really evolving fast. So that's been kind of my journey into Sportradar.
Yeah. No, that's a very interesting one. And as you said, from going from 3 to 70 employees on the AI team, how have you handled that from like a leadership perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it was actually this last sort of 10 years was so I actually also joined Sporta where it was still not such a big company. So, at that time it was about 600 people in total. Now it's over 2,000, really global, serving like a lot of different markets. So it was a growth from like the business and like seeing a lot of change and seeing a lot of growth from just like products and everything we serve, but also personal growth. Like I guess kind of it followed me this rapid growth also personally. um of course it was not easy, but actually one thing that I always feel, and that was actually the advice I got one time from a very dear colleague of mine in one of the previous jobs, is that you need to feel kind of at least 40% uncomfortable in your job for you to grow, right? Otherwise you don't really grow. And I guess it was like that for me in the last sort of 5 years quite often, but I really felt it helped me grow and it helped me become, I guess, the leader that I am today. I always followed the way that I wanted to build around me people that can make autonomous decisions and can work independently, and that I can rely on. That kind of help me build trust, help build trust with them. They understand that I am there for them, but at the same time I know I can rely on them. And I kind of started really quickly with that, and it helped me a lot, and it helps me a lot now when the team is bigger. um, so I feel like quite good at this point, and still knowing when to step in a bit. So I like to stay connected to what the team does. I feel for a leader it's really important to every now and then go a bit deeper into a project, because it helps you understand also when I go out and sometimes speak to in public, like I just feel a bit more confident if I know what the team is doing. And sometimes I get involved in nitty gritty detail, and then kind of step out and again like leave it to go. But I feel it's very important to keep connected to the operations a bit and to where the magic happens.
Mm. So we have talked a lot about that it's an ever-changing industry and AI specifically. So how much has it helped you to adapt to this, considering your history that you also changed focus many times in your career?
Yeah, it's I guess it did help. I was never kind of afraid of change. And even in sport, that I said, the last probably 7 or 8 years of my whole 10 years was in innovation, and there was constantly like trying to explore new things. And that means that projects changed quite often. And actually also in AI and computer vision particularly, we had to change focus a few times, like because also of course we had to first understand really what are we trying to solve in terms of problem that will help the business. And then you try once and maybe it doesn't work and you need to try again. And so you learn that you need to let go sometimes, and so you need to be able to adapt to these things. And at the beginning it's maybe a bit difficult, but if you are like kind of I guess you grow with that, and it was always part of my work at Sportradar. Then you get used to, and it is a lot easier. And it's also easier for me to coach others in my team with that, because I feel that I can tell them a little bit about how it is. And I stress very often, and sometimes, a researcher goes into one direction and it's very difficult for them to kind of let go and stop it. And I from the beginning try to say, like, just be ready that maybe it's not going to work and we'll have to go in a different direction. And I also promote a lot that they should look at the articles that are published, like scientific papers. And then, we have a couple of also PhD students that we constantly try to say, like, you are within the university, you will get exposed to this, so please bring it back and explain to the team what are some of the new developments, and how we can use it in business, right? So we are always trying to look how we can apply it at the end, but it's good to keep in touch, and the team is always kind of ready for change in one way or the other.
Mhm. You have personally been recognized by the Business Insider as one of the top people in AI. Is that something that, does that mean a lot to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's really important, because I feel it's a recognition that there was like a hard work over multiple years, and these things are not like quick wins, right? I think in today's world, like, sometimes AI, machine learning, deep learning is seen as a hype, and a lot of people and companies want a quick win. I think while there's a lot out there and you can actually get a quick win, but it's also a bit dangerous if you don't exactly know, like, what you need it for and how you want to use it. Our approach kind of was maybe a little bit more kind of hidden in the early days, but we wanted to have like the business problem defined very well, and it probably took a bit of time to make sure that we, like, really are sharp, clear, and focused on what we want to do. And actually, table tennis is a good example of how this kind of comes out exactly the way we wanted to, right? And exactly the way we planned, and that we have, in a way, kind of control of the technology and how we want to use it. And now that is the model that we are taking to next sport, and we have been developing a lot of sports in parallel. But this is where it really materialized, and that recognition kind of came through that as well, because there was a lot of talks, and a lot of we had, as I said, a big showcase in one conference. And yeah, it's an important recognition, especially because I really like the field and I want to stay in this field. And so and because people often also ask, like, okay, everyone talks about AI, but how do you create a real tangible value? And I feel, table tennis shows how do we create real tangible value. We see more engagement actually in numbers, like users are longer on the streams, they are more engaged, and so that's how we create the value. And as said, it's just the starting point, right? So for me, it was very important that this is recognized.
Mm, yeah. And of course, it's a very, exciting field and very ever
Absolutely.
changing rapidly, as we said before. So this will
Yeah.
be very interesting to follow.
I get sometimes asked, like, the roles that we are hiring today. When I started in Sportradar, did I know that those roles did they exist even, like, or did we know what we will hire? And no, actually, probably not, right? This, like, some of the roles and some of the expertise is that we need today, like, didn't probably exist or was very scarce like 10 years ago. And that, again, is part of this ever evolving industry and space, and we just need to be able to adapt.
Yeah. Has there been any bumps on the road in your career? And if so, how did you overcome them?
I mean, I wouldn't say that there were bumps, but I really, like, always looked a bit to what I said earlier, right? Like, how do I'm quite ambitious in the sense that I don't like comfort zone so much. I need to kind of be pushed and challenged. And sometimes maybe there was some sort of anxiety of a new challenge or new role. And yeah, and then, of course, you try and you fail. I wouldn't call it really bumps. Like, I didn't have like a really bad experiences, but of course there were, like, maybe small failures. But I always looked at it as, it's a way to improve. And for me, I like this. Like, people sometimes, I also like taking risk, even within Sportradar. Like, I feel this is important for growth, and sometimes maybe even when I take risk and I'm thinking to myself like, did I really need this? Like, it just causes stress and some anxiety. But then actually when the project is successful and we have the outcome and it's really amazing, it's such an amount of yeah, just satisfaction, a lot more than probably if I would just look for comfort, right? So for me, risk taking is part of what I really like, especially when there is like a really good outcome. And gladly, so far I didn't have really bad experiences. So yeah, for me, this is just growth, and bumps on the way are important. I need them, and I like being challenged, and I like taking risk in order to be then more satisfied with the outcome when it's successful.
Mm. Where do you think this growth mindset comes from?
um that's an interesting question. I don't know. I mean, I've always kind of I always needed to do something. I was always quite active, and I always was organizing some things, right? So even when I was a teenager, and I was always the one usually to organize things, and whether it was, I don't know, trips somewhere, or events or tournaments, or I don't know, newspaper, even in some local community at some point. I just always, I guess, naturally took some proactive approach to do something, and it was normally new things. I don't know. When I think back, I never liked when something was still for too long. I always needed to kind of push myself, and so maybe just part of my character. Maybe some of it comes from my parents, who maybe just taught me to always like do something. And yeah, so I think it's probably a little bit of a combination of both of those things.
Yeah, usually it is. Um, if we look ahead with AI, what do you think how does the future look in the next couple of years with regards to AI computer vision?
I mean, I think it will definitely become more and more commoditized, meaning like just more available to comp different companies, the entrepreneurs, different use cases. That always means like there for even now there's a lot of it out there, and so it's already a skill, if you wish, to kind of find what's really valuable for you and what's maybe not, and you can get into a rabbit hole quite quickly if you don't do it the right way. I think it will become probably even more available. The processing power is just growing and growing, which just enables a lot more um, powerful systems, AI systems. Even that's when it goes a little bit into this kind of area of deep learning, where deep learning, which is like sort of multi-layered neural networks, really really advanced, that actually are able to analyze like vast amounts of data. But those were not possible in the past because the data wasn't there, and because processing power wasn't there, and now it's there, and this will just grow. And normally processing is also becoming cheaper, so it's actually more accessible to more. I feel that it will become more and more part of daily lives. It's even now already there, which sometimes don't see it, but it's actually all around us. Computer vision actually also all around us. I'd like to see it more as really assisting, right? I think that's the way where it can help us be more efficient, maybe use the time more efficiently. Hopefully maybe actually be more efficient at work, so that we have some more free time, because the AI helps us be better at work. But I think there is definitely still no stopping to it, and it will become one of the technologies for sure that will be as important as some of the big inventions in the past, in the way how we use it.
Hmm. Approaching the end here, is there something I haven't asked you yet that you want to mention?
Um, I think we covered uh, a lot of stuff. I would say, sometimes I get asked if there is how we kind of approached, and like how we approach this challenge of computer vision, and what's kind of an advice for others in
Hmm.
that sense. And what I tend to always say, and I mentioned it already a little bit, is just like first really define what you want to solve, because it's very easy to get distracted these days with a lot of these technologies. And as said, you also can find examples of usage of AI that ended up not so good. And then sometimes this, especially in big corporations, you need to kind of build also some sponsorship internally and some trust. And I think it helps if you have like a really clear business model that's like good for either a big business or a small business. Don't get like overwhelmed by all of it, and don't use it because everyone is using it. I think rather kind of go small in iterations, because once you get the momentum and it picks up, and I feel like within Sportradar we are there right now, where actually it starts, it's externally, and to the customers and to the public it's more visible, and it's really gaining a momentum. But it was happening actually for a longer period of time, with clear vision, with clear problems, and how can we actually apply value to it. It's not just the technology, it's what the technology can do to us. And I kind of like to give this advice, and that's how we did it, and that's why we are where we are. And also I think the recognition came as a result of it.
Yeah. No, that's great advice. Thank you. So the final question that I ask is, who from your network do you think would be a good guest on this podcast?
Interesting question. So I would say if you'd like to stay within kind of the area of AI, but maybe go a bit deeper, then actually I have a really good colleague at Sportradar, Andrei Bratko. He is an amazing professional and expert in the field. Actually, Sportradar, there's a lot of AI that we do. So my team focuses more on the computer vision, so extraction of data from videos, whereas his team uses machine learning and deep learning in various other applications, including like trading, integrity, probability calculations, profiling, and a lot more. And yeah, I really value his opinion a lot, and expertise. So he's definitely good in that field. If you would like to go a bit outside of the industry, then actually I have a really dear friend, Maya Voyer. She is an amazing go-to-market strategist, and long-term friend. And again, really appreciate her work and insight. And it's something that is actually relevant for any industry. Amazing help for anyone starting new venture or simply a new product and they want to bring it to the market.
That's great. Two great names. Appreciate that. Luka, thank you so much for taking the time to be on Sports Management Podcast.
Marcus, thank you for having me. Always a pleasure to share some of the experience, and have a great day.